My name is Amy Peak, and I represent a group of parents from Foster Heights School who have a lot of concerns about, I believe it's called the PASS program that's been implemented there. I'm going to start with some positives. I love Foster Heights and the staff. It's a great school, and I want it to continue to be that way. But some incidences that have been occurring lately, there's a lot of concerned parents. I'll start with, there's a lot of outbursts in the room that cause what they call room clears. I know students have been standing in the hallway for up to 45 minutes at a time, days where they've had to clear the room more than once at a time. My main concern is I have a child in 5th grade, and I know it's a very important year to make the transition into middle school. And I feel like his educational time is being interrupted. And I know teachers can say they go right back to what they were working on, but when you have 11-year-old kids, it's not that easy. And I know, because I'm a parent, I know how to keep their attention span, and I know that when you get interrupted like this, which these children, and if I understand correctly, they're emotional behavior kids, not special needs kids, which I know there's a difference.
Okay, I'm going to ask you to back off the specifics.
Okay. Well, and I'm not even sure, because I had to do a little research about this program. I made a call to the state, and they were unable to give me any information about it. They couldn't find this program anywhere in their system. So, because it's a concern for the safety of our kids. I know, and I know I'm not supposed to name specific kids, and I wouldn't. But kids have been slapped, teachers have been hit, chairs have been broken and thrown. Safety is an issue, but my main concern is education. I want greater for my child than me, and if he can't get it from school, I'm doing my part as a parent, and I expect that you all could do the same and protect my child, just the average child, for his rights, and the rest of these parents. I don't know the specifics on why Foster Heights was chosen, but I don't like this program in that it doesn't protect every child. I know there's a lot of other parents who would like to speak and tell you a lot of things that they're not happy with. And again, I love my school, so I'm here to protect my teachers too. I know they put up with a lot, and I know they can't really speak to that because they love their job, but teachers are being hit. They're losing time for our children, which something you could be concerned about would reflect in test scores, because they can't get across to the students what they need to get done to create good test scores, because they're being interrupted by these children that are causing some of our kids to be scared. Now, my boys personally have never said they're scared, but I know there are students that are. And like I said, I'm concerned about the education, because if I'm not here to protect my child, who will? And I feel like the school system is failing the average child by letting this program be placed in our school.
Anyone else would like to come up to the podium?
Superintendent Orr and other distinguished members of the board, my name is Bonnie Haverly. I live at 117 Haverly Drive here in Bardstown, and my granddaughter is a kindergarten student at Foster Heights. I've spent lots of time in her class over the past 6 months, and I've made several observations. The four most serious are as follows. There is one very disruptive child.
Ma'am, I'm going to remind you that I asked that we not talk about specific kids, we not talk about specific incidents, because that puts all of us in danger of
Even if you don't remember the name.
Yes, ma'am. When you talk about one child, there are going to be people who know who that is, and so you can't do that.
All right, I'll say this about it.
It's her turn.
The same thing she said, there are a lot of outbursts in class. I believe he should have been taken out of the class.
Ma'am,
that's my personal opinion.
I understand, but you can't talk about one child like that. We're going to have to stop you from talking, because you need to be much more general. And we'll be glad to set up appointments with you and talk about your specific concerns, but this is not the place.
All right, let's try this sentence. the children, all the children, okay, in the class are trying to form their social skills right now. They're 5 and 6 years old. And I believe that the things that have been done in the class to take care of the problem have reinforced negative behavior, and it's not a positive influence on the other children in the class, and it serves to show them that negative behavior gets more attention than positive behavior. That's one of my concerns, okay? That negative behavior is being reinforced. Okay. There's a lot of class time lost, just like the other lady said, because a lot of times they have to go out in the hall, and a lot of times they go to the multimedia room and stay for who knows how long. And then a lot of times it's just the opposite. They stay in the room, and whatever person is causing a problem might have to go to the office. But whatever the problem is, class is disrupted, and they don't have study time. Because with little kids like that, they lose their attention span really, really quick. Now another thing is, I don't quite understand what you all are up against with your laws as to moving children from one class to another, okay? But I do understand through working as a manager for years that there's an HR problem with knowing that there is violence and disruptiveness going on and not taking care of it. And that in a business place, I as a manager could be sued on a business level and on a personal level if I did not report things like are going on in this classroom. Okay. The teacher has been slapped. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Can I just say my little last speech? This concludes my remarks, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Can we both come up as representatives of one child?
My name is Ashley Nicole Thompson, and I have a child who is in 5th grade at Boston Heights. I would like to start off by saying that my child is afraid. He's afraid to go to school. Every day we are dealing with these disruptions in class. It is going on in front of the children. There is profound language being said. They are watching things that should not go on in these schools. These kids are being forced in their desks, and these children are witnessing this several times a week based on this program.
Times per day.
He's afraid. What I don't understand how, if my child did this, he would be suspended. So where are the rights different? How should they be any different?
An example would be if a person in this audience went crazy, started throwing chairs, kicking things, the police officer tackled him, called for backup, took this person out of the room, 10 minutes later brought the person in, set him down, and left. How comfortable would you be in a learning environment? But that's what our children are exposed to. Every day, not every day, but several times a day on a regular basis.
And they're scared. Bottom line, if you don't hear anything else,
if you saw a reaction in this audience, you would be afraid too.
they're afraid. And how can they sit and take instruction when they are watching over their shoulder for the all clear sign to leave the room? How serious can they take their work when they are told that you need to watch for this all clear sign to get out for your safety? This is totally absurd. Our children should not go through this. They should not witness this. We do not cuss in front of our children at home. So
We do not raise our children this way.
No.
My son told me today he heard the S word, the F word, the A word, the B word, the H word. He saw teachers smite.
Today.
He saw 4 adults storm the room to control 1 child. He was sent out of his classroom 2 times.
Today.
Today.
This has happened several times a week for the last couple of weeks.
And 2 times today, the child was sent back. They're told not to make eye contact.
Don't look at it.
Don't talk to them. How can it be good for either party?
Would you want your children dealing with this on a daily basis, or your grandchildren? Is this fair for these kids who are telling us they're scared? This is not fair.
What's the threshold for when the child isn't sent back into the room? I've seen some pretty crazy stuff. Where do you draw the line where the kid isn't sent back? Does it take a kid getting hurt, stabbed, shot, killed?
And then you wish
at what point does the child not come back to the room?
A child has been hurt. And I'm sure you all are all aware of that right now. They've already
I'm not willing to put my son's safety at risk to find out what that point is. And I'm finished.
My name is Brad McKinney. I live at 1020 Inside Drive. I believe Mr. Orr knows me well enough. I'm trying to contact him enough. What did you learn in the music class today? Don't say no names.
Well, we heard some foul language and almost got hit.
How many times a week is your class pulled out of class?
Every couple of days.
And how long do you sit in the hallways or another room?
About usually like 15 to 20 minutes.
And she's mandatory seated with some at lunch. Now, I totally agree with the parents that were just up here. It's ridiculous. I know their children have the right to go to school as well as these do. But when my kid comes home every day and tells me she's seen a book thrown at a child, takes 2 men my size to tackle a boy down the hallway, you got to do something. If you wait any longer, you're going to have communication at Foster Heights is not the greatest. And me and Ms. Collins talked before. I called and asked for a call back in 2 weeks and didn't hear anything. Which, I mean, me and her talked before, she's always been pleasant with it. But if you don't have communication with the parents, why should the parents trust you? Because, I mean, I've tried to have sit-downs with you, Mr. Orr, and I pretty much got brushed off about it. Now, I mean, yes, I'm opinionated. When I've got a child in school and I can't even get a call back from the principal, or the superintendent won't even sit down with me, that's a problem. And then when this is being allowed to go on, you know, if you're not even going to call me about the problem, why should I trust my child there for you to take care of the problem? And I mean, I don't mean no disrespect by it, but if I can't even get a phone call back or a sit down, I mean, what am I supposed to expect? But something has got to be done about this, because some of these kids are going to get hurt. Because little boy today got a book thrown at him just out of nowhere. And I mean, what's next? They're going to come and start taking knives and throwing them? Something bad is going to happen with something that's not done about this school.
Something bad will happen.
Thank you.
But, I mean, that's all I've got, and I'm just waiting to see something done about it. And I'm hearing rumors that they're actually going to start busing more students into Foster Heights. Is that true?
Hey, when your time's up, I'll be glad to address some of that.
Okay, well, I'm done.
If you don't mind, man, let me address some of the comments that have been made, and it may be helpful to some of the others of you that haven't spoken yet. I know there are rumors that students have been bussed in to schools for behavior problems. Let me explain what we do and why we do that. We do have several schools that have special programs for students. Those programs have specially trained teachers that have the teaching certificates and the professional development that make them highly qualified to work with those students.
Do you name those schools?
No, just let me finish. So what we do is we have those programs at the schools where the most students need them. And we've talked about Foster Heights tonight, and so when you think about it, Foster Heights is the second largest school we have in the school district. So there will be many students who have different needs at that school, and so it makes sense to have the programs at that school to meet their needs. And I want to take a moment to thank our staff who work very hard and very well with our students. I think it's important for us to remember and understand that we have students coming to school every day who have all kinds of challenges and issues that I dare say the people here in this audience really have very, very little experience with. And our staff do a phenomenal job of working with them to provide what they need on a minute-by-minute, day-by-day basis, and they do it out of love and joy and concern. And I'm terribly, terribly grateful to them for the work that they do. At the same time, it's important for all of us to understand, as someone has just said, every student in our buildings has the right to be there. One of the things that makes me very proud to be an educator is the fact that in this country, we take every student that walks through the door and we tell them we will do our level best to get you graduated from high school. There's not another country on the planet that does what we do, and it makes me very, very proud to be an educator. It makes me proud to work with the people who are in this room and in our school district. That presents challenges because there are all different kinds of people, and what we know about backstories is not available to the public, and we're never going to tell that because that would be a violation of their rights. But the idea that we would turn kids away because they don't look like or do like we would want our own children to do, or think that our own children do, or even sometimes just represent that our own children do, is not right and it's not legal. I want everyone to understand that I have been really very impressed with the work that our staff does. I've been in these classrooms. I continue to visit these classrooms, and we do face real challenges, but I'm very proud of the staff that the work they do and the response of our children. It's sometimes tough. There's certainly going to be those days, and we've heard some descriptions of those times, but I will also tell you that that does not describe the majority of the time of what's going on in those classrooms. Some of the concerns that have been expressed about what comes next, we're nowhere near that, and I think it's very important that people understand that's been overstated. And
there were 4 adults who literally took a child out of my classroom today. He heard every word that I told you.
Number one, I've not interrupted parents, and I would appreciate you're not interrupting us. I'm wanting to respond to your concerns and try to give you some feedback. And I will tell you, if you've got further concerns, we're going to reach a point here pretty soon where we're just going to have to say, you need to set up an appointment with me. I'm more than happy to sit down and talk about the things that I can. This is not the time or the place to get into all of those kinds of details. So,
my name is Jill Brockman. I live on Quarry Lane in Bardstown. It appears we do have a serious issue at Foster Heights. I have the same problem. I have a daughter in kindergarten at Foster Heights. She is afraid to go to school. It's been going on for 7 months. We have followed the chain of command, spoken with the principal several times. I'm sure she's doing all that she can. I have to disagree with you to some extent. As parents, we are allowed to visit and volunteer in our child's classroom, and we are in the classroom a whole lot more, I'm sure, than anyone here has been in these particular classrooms. So I do disagree with that. We've all witnessed on the news how an individual with a violent background or problem can cause an issue to escalate into a tragedy at a school. This is not what we want for our children. My child deserves an education in a safe environment, and she is not getting that. Her educational time is being taken away from her to deal with an issue that continues, and it is on a daily basis. It is actually a rare occasion in her particular instance that it's a good day. So I do disagree with you on that. It's my responsibility as a parent to protect my child. But I feel like it is your responsibility as an educator to provide her with an education in a safe environment. My child was physically hurt by someone else, and it left marks on her face. So I have been that route. And it is not fair to her. It simply is not fair. You know, it's a sensitive subject. It affects very small children, the parents, the staff, The principals, it's taken up how much of your time now? And I'm sure we have all been aware that there are issues there. It really does need to be addressed. It simply is not fair that a 5-year-old child, her first experience with the educational system of Nelson County has been fraught with violent outbursts. 5 years old, the very building blocks that she needs to continue her educational career are in constant jeopardy, day to day. She has no clue when an outburst is going to happen. Therefore, she is afraid the entire time she is in the classroom. Every day. I really
think. Hello. Jenny Shams. Hardshock Road. I would like to start saying that Foster Heights is wonderful. My daughter's in 5th grade. She had great kindergarten experience for her 2nd, 3rd, 4th. This is her calendar year, not so much. I'm not sure why this started this year or what used to happen that changed all this. The teachers there are wonderful. I moved to that location to have all 3 of my children go to Foster Heights. And I have 2 more coming in the rear. One in kindergarten, 1 15 months. When you drop your kids off at daycare as an infant, you're scared to go to work. You're worried. I have the best babysitter in the world. And I'm sorry that I'm getting emotional. This is my children. When I take my 15-month-old to the babysitter, I don't worry at all. I worry about my 11-year-old. Her chair has been picked up with her in it and been pushed forward into the desk. I'm representing me and my husband today because this is not the best place for him to be. And if it was your daughter or son that was being handled in such a way, you would feel that way as well. The teachers at Foster Heights are wonderful. My children will not be going to county schools next year, I'm sad to say. Now, in closing, I would like to have someone give me information on this program, what it's about, what the recommendations are for students to be in this classroom or be pulled out, what the training is that when you go to get a teaching degree, you are not dealt to deal with these kind of kids. I'm in the medical field, and I want to know what kind of extended education that they're getting to deal with these kids and to our kids that are around these children. And I also think, speaking for these children, the children with whatever issues, how hard is that for them to be put in a classroom with 24 other kids that can sit still and don't have outbursts and don't cuss all day and don't throw stuff? To me, they need to be more protected as well. They obviously need more one-on-one training. And when you have tornado drills and fire drills at school, that terrifies kids. And they know that it's a drill, right? They go up, they leave the classroom. How do you think every day these kids sit in their chairs and they have to watch for a sign? They walk around on eggshells wondering if they got to leave the classroom and what the heck is happening in the first place. Stuff is flying, people are being hit. I know that there are teachers who have videotaped it on their iPod. I had a 5th grader coming home telling me this. It's not a kindergarten story. They're 11 years old, and she's telling the truth. And I would like to know how you get all that information to us as parents.
Glad to set up a meeting with you to provide that information.
You can email the information.
I'll be glad to sit down and talk with you about it.
Hello. Hi. I am a mother. I am also a substitute teacher for the Nelson County School District.
name and address, please.
And my name is Tasha Schmitz, and I live at Farmington Drive. I have two children that attend Foster Heights, and I also have a daughter that's at OKH. Luckily, my kids at Foster Heights have been very lucky this year, it sounds like. My daughter at OKH hasn't been as lucky. We had some issues earlier on, and I am not the only parent, but I know that there were parents who went to the administration. I know that there were a lot of talking about things that had happened. My daughter was kicked. It was absolutely repulsive what was going on. I seen it, I heard it, and it got to the point because things did not move and get better in my daughter's classrooms that some of us parents had to take things to a little higher level. And we have to do what we have to do to protect our children. And that is very important. So, as a school board, this is your job, to protect our kids. Thank you.
I live on Poplar Flat Road. My daughter is in the 3rd grade. She just transferred from the Grace Christian Academy to Foster Heights in November. Coming from such a small school to Foster Heights, I kept myself as involved as I could with my work schedule so that I could see what was going on and see what she was doing. I had seen for myself while having breakfast and lunch with her these outbursts and chairs being thrown across the room and language that my child, growing up in a Christian home, has not heard from me or my house. She's learning from school. And this meeting tonight has made up my mind. I'm almost 40 years old, and because of my financial situation, I could have taken the money that I've saved and gotten a house. I'm sending her back to the Grace Christian Academy next year. This is my child. I've seen it for myself. These kids walking down the hallway and the things that they're saying to their adult supervisor or whoever it is that's keeping them, you are looking at me like I'm crazy. Why should I put my child in that situation? Why should her ears have to hear those things when she doesn't hear them at home? This is, I agree with what everybody's saying. Our kids are supposed to be protected when we send them to school. I've never seen such a horrible thing in my life as to send my child to the school. I hate it. I hate it.
Absolutely.
It's horrible.
My name is Calestis Pink, and let me tell you, I knew things were a little rough with these Foster Heights parents, but I have two things. Those children that have these outbursts or needs, they have plans written, I understand that. They have confidentiality, they have rights, and so do all the children. It doesn't matter, disability or not, but we need to have. Make sure everybody's civil rights are taken care of. My children, OKH, and Foster Heights, or not Foster Heights, I'm sorry, still love the school, but Nelson County. My son has been bullied a few times this year. Come to find out this child has maybe an IEP or a 504 plan written on him. We are slowly working through that. But please, 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 not just these other children, but all of us and our civil rights. Make sure we're all in sync. Please take care of these good parents, good families, and great, absolutely the best teachers you can get. Second of all, after I stopped the notion and I stopped my mom had, there's been some issues. I like Mr. Coffey up here talking about the technology, but I have a little issue about that. There's been, for instance, at OKH in the 6th grade, some pornographic pictures on a little device, handheld device, that's being, the kids, it was noted, the teacher noted it, but with us going forward with technology, Is there any way possible we can put a block? I know I have a block at home. It's called a DNI. And it keeps the children from searching. It blocks all of that. I mean, blocks everything in my house. I know at Thomas Nelson, when I walk in the door for a meeting for FFA, I can't use my phone there. It's like, it's all mumble jumble. And you drive down 245, your phone's mumble jumble. Because they have some massive system there. So can we get it at some of the other schools too? Because I don't want my 6th grader looking at pornographic stuff. His feelings are right here. And he thinks that's very offensive. So as we go forward with the technology, please, 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 the safety issues. That's a big factor that I see. I don't know how much further we're going to go on, but please.
Just a couple of points of clarification. First of all, we've actually, if you've had the pleasure of listening to any of our board meetings before, we've actually complained about the fact that we don't have good cell service at Thomas Nelson High School once we get into there. So there are times when I wish we had the ability to block those signals, and that's something that we were doing actively, but the fact of the matter is there's simply just not a good phone signal there.
And I'll just add, it is a federal violation to block cell signals, so we are not doing that.
That's right, we are not blocking cell signals. The other thing that perhaps wasn't around in some of your schools growing up, but when I was in middle school, there were kids that brought things to school that they should not have brought, and they did not need technology to do it, and it was my choice as a student to make a decision about what I was going to look at and what I wasn't, and we have to teach our kids that. I want to be clear that I'm not advocating for the materials that you're talking about, but simply saying those things were available before technology. So that's not just a technology issue. That's something that we expect our staff to watch for and be vigilant about, whether it's on a cell phone or if it's on paper that students have brought in. So I think those kinds of concerns stay with us year to year, decade to decade, and century to century for that matter. So I appreciate your work there. The one other thing I just want to point out that many of you have referenced is the procedures that are in place for when there is a disruption in the classroom. And several of you have talked about it from very different grade levels, very different classrooms. And I just want to comment on the fact that those procedures themselves are the things, part of the process for how we keep our kids safe. There will always be things that we can't control, but the procedures that get kids in a safe spot when there's any danger is the part of the safety that our staff are very expertly providing. And I want to again say how much I appreciate the work they do to accomplish that.
I just have a quick question. If we return next month, can we get on the agenda to see where we are with this situation at Foster Heights so that we see something has been done, you've reviewed it, you've decided something, you've taken into consideration things that when we return next month, because we want to know where we stand.
Provided a child hadn't been to the hospital by then.
Those are things that, as I've said before, I'm glad to sit down and meet with people, but it'll be the decision of the board to put those on the agenda.
How do I go about making an appointment with you?
You call the office, 349-7000.
Can we just have one Foster Heights meeting with you? Because there's several parents we'd like to all hear the same answer.
I don't think you want to hear it back day after day.
I'd be glad to. I'd be glad to.
What I don't understand is why
we need to
have 20 plus kids getting out of the room.
If you want to speak, you need to come up here and state your name and address.
My name is Jeff Head, 7006 Loretta Road, and I'll keep this short. My daughter had one day, she got poured out of the room 3 times. Not just her, the whole class, with the exception of one kid. Why are 20 plus kids getting pulled to the side for 30 plus minutes and we're leaving one kid in the classroom? Why not pull one kid? Exactly. Makes no sense. That's all I got to say.
Because of money, Jeff. Why? Because of money.
Perry. I live on Woodlawn Road. I have a child at Foster Heights who has an excellent education right now. She has no behavior issues in her class, and I'm very thankful for that. My son goes to Oak Kentucky Home, and I have a daughter at Nelson County, and one in college. But my son at OKH, he's a very good student. He strives to be a good student, and he tells me, Mama, I cannot learn in my first period class because there's children or a child there that is FUing the teacher, calling out other students. He's been threatened. I mean, he's not scared of this child, but he's been threatened by this child. That is not a setting that is conducive for my child to learn. Even though he's not frightened of this boy, he can't learn because of the outbursts in the classroom. There's constant screaming and yelling, and he's not being removed from the room. They're working on his behavior is what was being told to me by my son. Again, I know there's a policy for high schoolers. They go to Horizons. Why can't, if there's children with behavioral issues, why can't these children be pulled? And when they are ready to be brought and acclimated into a classroom, why can't they go then? Why do they have to be mainstreamed into a classroom when they're not ready and our children aren't ready? My child is striving to make straight A's. He's striving to be a good student. He's striving to go to college. He wants to be a pilot. How can he learn with conditions that aren't conducive to learning? If he's telling me that the teacher is trying to control one student and he can't learn, how is he going to be able to do the things that he wants to do? One child or a few children in a classroom shouldn't and cannot continue to manipulate the classroom. It just can't continue. If my child is going to learn, my first grader, like I said, Miss Paulin is a wonderful principal, and the Oak Kentucky Home principal is wonderful, and Nelson County. I have no problems with any of the teachers; they're wonderful. But at the same time, I don't want to say normal children, but the average child that is doing their part shouldn't be subjected to not being able to learn because of one student in the classroom. Those students need to be out of the classroom, and when they're able to be mainstreamed, by all means, mainstream them, by all means. But they're also being ostracized in the classroom by other students because they're not ready. If that makes sense. I understand from Foster Heights children, they're not supposed to look at a certain student. If they're not supposed to look at him, how do you think that makes him feel or her feel if you're not allowed to look at another student? Because you're not sure what kind of outburst is going to happen if you look at him. Now, my child's in first grade. What happens if she's in the cafeteria and she looks at the wrong student, a student that she shouldn't be looking at? I mean, I hope I've got my point across. I want my children to learn. I want them to continue going to Foster Heights. I don't want my first grader next year to be in the wrong classroom, a classroom with a disruptive child. I don't want my 8th grader next year to be back in the same classroom where he can't learn in a class because he's got a child that's cussing out the teacher half the period, and this child is not being removed the way they should be.
Very much.
My name is Dana Warner. I have a child that's in 4th grade at Foster Heights. I'm not a public speaker, so my legs are wobbly. I did not plan to come here and talk tonight. When my son first started coming home from school during the first of the year, he would explain to me that people had anger management issues. And I thought this was so cute that he had named something anger management for somebody. You know, that something he just pulled out and didn't quite know what he was talking about. And then we learned words like set off. This person got set off. Then our next word for our dinner time conversation was evacuate. We've only had to evacuate twice this year, though, Mom. So now our supper time conversations come to evacuate, set off. What was your learning experience today? We don't talk about things like that at school. Now we're talking about, this has become the conversation at supper time. Now, if one of the kids at school gets lice, I got the letter. I got the letter in the backpack that says we got school lice. But if we get kids that are getting shoved in chairs and hurt and threatened and things like this, and I don't know about it, I mean, my child's coming home and telling me stuff, and I'm taking this as a 4th grade boy, but in truth is, nobody has ever put a note in his backpack that said, the children in the school are being threatened. The children in the school have life, so what?
Amen.
And I know, Mr. Orr, because you're sitting there patting people's hands, and I've never been to a board meeting, and I've never been so frustrated. And you're telling me to make an appointment with you. What if I don't like what you have to say? What is my next step? You give me the guidelines, because I need to know the proper way to say it, do it, and get it done. And you need to give me those tools to do it with.
Tomorrow's too long to wait.
Do you want me to make an appointment now? Do you want to get mine? Now, this not now. Who do I need to talk to? I'm at the board. Am I at the top? Am I at the middle? Am I just wasting my breath? Tell me. Tell me what I'm doing, and tell me what to do next. I mean, I don't want to hear that I make an appointment. I'll come talk to you, that's fine. And then you can pat my hand and you can tell me what. But I want the goals, I want the guidelines. I want to know what criteria it is for these people to be pulled out of the classroom. I want to know exactly what you have to go by and make sure everybody's following those too. I mean, I want to be informed. My 4th grader had to tell me, another parent had to tell me.
My name is Sarah Thompson. I was on Hutchins Lane in Birchtown. And I have been on PTO as president at Foster Heights. I've been a secretary there. I'm currently a member of the Parent Advisory Committee. That is why I'm here. I feel like I kind of somewhat stand up for these parents. I'm here to get educated more on the problems. And honestly, I don't have a problem in either of my children's class, knock on wood. But their stories could be me tomorrow. And I want to make a point that I don't think you're wrong in saying that I agree that every child deserves an equal opportunity. Nobody's arguing that at all. Nobody's arguing that. For instance, my 1st grader is in speech, okay? You wouldn't know it if you talked to it. You wouldn't think he even needed it. Versus a child that you could barely understand, you'd probably figure he either needs speech or is in speech. They're both categorized in speech. These kids we're talking about that's in this PASS program, there's got to be different levels that they're in. There could be kids in my kids' class right now that is in that program. They don't pose a threat. They're perfectly fine. I'm fine with that. They're on this level. You got a child on this level that is doing the behavior that these parents are talking about. There's a problem. You can't just categorize them in one. Where do you draw the line in being able to be in a classroom setting and not being able to draw in a classroom setting? I tell you when you draw the line is when a child is in harm's way. Your mission statement says at the bottom, students will be responsible, successful members of competitive global study. You're not creating that. You're breaking down children. You know the lifetime effects these kids that are going to have on these kids by having to witness this every day?
They're scared.
They're scared. You have children, Mr. Orr, don't you? Do all y'all have children or grandchildren? I want to know your response. How do you respond to that? Does that not scare you? What if that was going on in your child's classroom? I'm curious. What would you do if that was going on in your child's classroom? They came home to you today and said, Daddy, we had to leave the room. Daddy, somebody threw a chair. Daddy, we heard the F word. The F word. Is that appropriate in your home? I doubt it. And I'll tell you what, let's turn the table. If a child came to school and reported that was what was going on in their household, social services would be called, investigated, wouldn't they? If a child came to y'all and reported that the stuff was going on that they were going through in school was happening in their home life, social services would be at that parent's home within minutes. But it's okay for them to live that at school? 15 seconds. On the plus side, other than that, I do love my kids' school. I love Ms. Poland, Dr. Miller. I think everything else is great. I don't want my child, their stories to be my children tomorrow.
Is there any more guest comments?
Well, I'd like to go up again. I would like to know if you all care.
I would like a response. I would like some kind of input.
So, what we'll do, I'm the spokesperson for the board, so I'll talk. Or we can adjourn, but I want to help, okay? What I want to do is we'll work with Ms. Paula to set a date to have an open forum. I'm more than happy to do that. A couple of things that I think you'll find that we'll come prepared to talk to you about is a wider perspective of the laws that are in place that don't draw the lines where we draw the lines in our homes as parents, that don't draw the lines where we would like for them to be sometimes. But there's still laws that we are obligated as a school district and as staff to follow, and we will. It does create tension when we try to achieve that balance between meeting the demands of the law for every kid in the room. It's a very tough job, and you've heard me say that several times tonight, and you'll hear me say it lots more times. It's a very tough job to strike that balance for all of the children in the room, and I think our staff do a good job. I will tell you that I'm not the only one who sits on the dais with children and grandchildren in classrooms, and I will tell you that we have the same conversations at my house that some of you have reported, and I had someone say to me one time, you need to take your superintendent hat off and put your parent hat on. I do have 3 kids in the system, as do several of the folks sitting up here with me, and I wear both those hats every day. I wear them at work and I wear them at home, and I'm really proud to do so. So I appreciate you coming and talking with us tonight, and I will work with Ms. Paula, and before the end of the week, give me a little bit of time to get with her and work our schedules out. Before the end of the week, we'll have a date or dates publicized. I'll be glad to sit down and talk more at length with folks.
Would you do one for OKH also, Mr. Orr?
Many as it takes. Yes, ma'am.
Well, I mean, because some of us are.
Sure. Yes, ma'am.
I mean, please don't keep us out of the loop. I mean, we have issues too, so.
Yes, ma'am. We'll do as many as people want. I'm glad to.
Move on to
Hold on for a minute, if you don't mind, Larry. Okay. And I'm not trying, but believe me, you're going to have a meeting with them, and you and Ms. Paula are going to set it up this week. And I mean, the meeting might not be this week, but you're going to set a date at the public meeting for all these parents. And you'll work with Ms. Paula, and they're going to know by Friday afternoon probably when the meeting is. Yes, sir. And if there's not, and there's going to at least be one meeting, I'll take you home, one at Foster Heights, and any other schools, they need to work with their principals.
Yes, sir.
But you are going to have a meeting set.
Yes, sir.
So we might.
Thank you.
These are the stories because we're going to ask them about this.
Thank you.
And we do appreciate y'all coming. We understand. We have to be careful what we say up here, because if we start going a dialogue back and forth, we're here to midnight. But we all sit here patiently. We make a lot of money for being on this diocese. But we do care about kids. We will work with Mr. Orr. Please work with Mr. Orr and Ms. Paulin. And they wouldn't be in this job if they didn't care about children. You know, so that's all I can say. And I probably talked more than I should, and I apologize, Mr. Chairman. But it's Mr. Orr's promised that there will be a meeting set for next Friday, and I feel comfortable that he will do that since he gave us that promise. So that's all we're asking. So
by next month, we can rebuttal here with.
We're going to talk about it in that meeting.
Y'all need the meetings, and
Well, this is an open meeting. Any month is appropriate to come if you want. This is a public open meeting to discuss whatever. There's some things that the laws and the rules put us in a bind between what we would like to do and what we have to do. So we've got to weigh how we handle those situations to meet the law of that individual and this individual and everybody in between. So we've got to deal with that. And sometimes the answer is not what we would like either. You know, it's things that we have to work within the confines of federal and state law, and what we would like to do in this district to educate children, and sometimes it's difficult.
We are going to adjourn the meeting. I make a motion to adjourn the regular session of Nelson County School Board. Second motion. Second, all in favor, say aye.